Hi friends, welcome to Morning Elms. In this video, we're going to talk about some of the records I picked up in March and April of 2024. Hey friends, thanks for checking out the video. So I feel like every year for me has kind of an identity when it comes to new music. A few years ago was a very hip-hop oriented year. This year has kind of been the big pop artist release. The year of the big pop artist release. And what I mean by that is we have new records from very mainstream artists that I actually like. You know, there's Beyoncé, Taylor Swift, Dua Lipa, Ariana Grande, Billie Eilish is coming out with an album soon. So a lot of big albums from very well-known artists. Some of them are hitting for me, some aren't. I'll go into a few that I picked up in this video. But yeah, just noticing a lot of those big releases. But there's been a whole bunch of great releases this year. I'm going to get into some of those, and I also picked up some used stuff, you know, not from 2024. So I'll go into that as well. But yeah, thanks for checking out the video. The first record I picked up is Kacey Musgraves, Deeper Well. And this is sort of a return to form for Kacey. I've been enjoying it a lot. My favorite Kacey stuff is the first few albums like Same Trailer, Different Park and Pageant Material. But of course, I like Golden Hour as well. And this goes back to more of those sounds. Her last album, Starcross, didn't really land for me, but I'm enjoying this one. Very folky. There's been a lot of comparisons to Fleetwood Mac, but I also hear a bit of like, I don't know, like J.J. Cale's softer side on tracks like Magnolia, or even a Guy Clark, something off like Old Number One, like L.A. Freeway. I'm getting those kind of vibes. I do like a lot of songs on here, like Cardinal, Deeper Well, Too Good to Be True, Give or Taker. The Architect is a really great song. The one critique I have, there's a few tracks here, and I don't know if any of you feel this way, but there's a few artists I just don't love when their voice is double tracked. And there's a few songs, I think Deeper Well and Too Good to Be True have that double vocal take. And I don't know, it just kind of takes me out of it. It sounds inorganic. So I just wish that felt a little bit more natural. But very solid release from Kacey. I'm actually going to see her live, I think in September, which will be my second time seeing her live. So I'm looking forward to that. And then we also got a picture disc that has it's a really cool design. It has like two cardinals on it, and we've hung it up on our wall, but this is a separate version that we could actually listen to. So really enjoying this album. Next up, we have Kim Gordon, The Collective. And I've been a fan of Kim Gordon since I was a teenager. You know, Sonic Youth was a very formative band for me. I often say when I was in middle school hearing like Teenage Riot, you know, I didn't know music could sound this way. I didn't know guitars could make noise. Like, there was a compilation called Screaming Fields of Sonic Love that I got for Christmas one year. And just like the noisiness, I hadn't heard music like that at that time. But Kim, it amazes me at this time in her career, after this many years, she's still making as interesting music as this. It's noisy, which is to be expected, but it also has like a trap influence, an industrial influence. The lyrics are almost, I don't want to say they're like rapped, but it's very like stream of consciousness. The delivery is very interesting. It almost reminds me a little bit of New York City, Ghosts and Flowers, Sonic Youth album that was kind of not well received, but I like quite a bit of the material on that album. And, you know, just like the poetic nature of that album The Collective kind of reminds me of that a little bit. But yeah, still pushing out really cool music. Kim Gordon. There was a period of time when this came out that I was just obsessed with this. So it's definitely going to make my year-end list. Then we have the new album from Adrianne Lenker, Bright Future. And yeah, I really like this one. I love Adrianne's work. Love Big Thief. I've seen Big Thief live. This is the reason I wanted to get this on vinyl in particular is I believe it's an all analog experience, meaning that Adrianne recorded this album direct to tape, and then the record was mastered directly from the analog tape. So it's a complete analog experience, which is kind of rare these days. So I wanted to get it for that reason. I do like probably her last solo album songs a little bit more, but this one has a little bit more going on instrumentationally. It's just a little bit more lush production wise, and I think Songs was pretty stripped back with just guitar, acoustic guitar, and vocals, where this just has a little bit more going on. I think a lot of people might prefer this album for that reason, but it's a really great album. Kind of country inspired, folk inspired, great stuff from Adrianne. She's a wonderful songwriter and a great lyricist as well. So I was happy to pick that one up. Then I got this one at my local record store. Had never heard of the artist, but I just really like the album cover. And this is Mongo Santamaria, and the album's called Mongo 70. It was released in 1970. And upon some research, Mongo is a Cuban percussionist, primarily the conga, I believe he plays. And yeah, this is just it's like Latin, funky funk jazz, very bright, makes you want to dance. For a random pickup just on the cover, I was super happy with this. And I've been listening to it quite a bit. And I just recently saw in the highlights bin at my local record store, and this is Dillard and Clark, the fantastic expedition of Dillard and Clark. Now, this is a collaborative record between Gene Clark of Birds fame and Doug Dillard, who plays the banjo. I believe this was released in 1968, and just a really cool country rock record. Has some like bluegrass influence on it. Really cool songwriting. If you're into like country rock from the 60s, like if you like some of that Bird stuff, like Sweetheart of the Rodeo, you'll definitely like this record. So check this one out. Dillard and Clark, the fantastic expedition of Dillard and Clark. This one I got just because it's off of International Anthem. I really like International Anthem, Chicago-based modern jazz label, also ambient stuff, experimental stuff. But this is Ruth Goller. I haven't really listened to this yet, so I can't really comment on the music too much. But it is, she plays bass, double bass, and vocals as well. Cool album art. I always like to read the weird description of the International Anthem. They're really interesting. So I'll do that now. Cascading melodic phonetics over detuned bass forms pierce like sibilant, ice age siren song drawing an encircling dance of contrapuntal percussions. I probably butchered some of those words. Those are $10 words. But yeah, very cool release. I'll be checking this out. Hopefully I like it. It's called SKYLLUMINIA. So, and then this one I saw on Bandcamp Daily does like a bunch of, they'll recommend country inspired albums month to month. And this is Aoife O'Donovan, All My Friends. I saw this album highlighted in that feature. And it's very good. It's like folky. I believe a lot of the songs are written about women's rights and the early suffragettes. So yeah, very cool. The vinyl itself is a really like nice mustard color vinyl. I love the the art design of the center label as well. Yeah, really cool release. I like her voice. I like the lyrics. I'm looking forward to listening to more of this. She's coming to Westport, Connecticut, nearby me. I hope to see her, but we might have plans on the same day, so that's going to be a last minute call. So the next record I got is an artist I've been interested in for years, probably about a decade now. But this is Jessica Pratt. This is her new album, Here in the Pitch. And Jessica has typically makes like folk music, kind of more lo-fi sounding. This is a little bit more lush and has a little bit more instrumentation than some of her previous efforts. A lot of it has just been guitar and vocals. But yeah, this is really cool. Jessica has a really unique voice. It's hard for me to describe, but there's a pitch and a tone to it. Kind of like, I don't want to say Joanna Newsom, but like, it's just something you don't hear every day. But yeah, it's like psych folk, a lot of like 60s sounds. I believe she's a big fan of the Beach Boys, and it shows. Really cool album, artist I love, and I'm just excited to continue to keep listening to this one. Now I'm gonna move on to actually one more quick vinyl purchase. This is Patrick Shiroishi, and what was the title of this? This is a single, and it is A Sparrow in a Swallow's Nest, and it features Emma Ruth Rundle, I think, on some spoken word additions to this. But Patrick plays the saxophone, but he's also a multi-instrumentalist in one of my favorite bands, Fubatsushi. Been really, I haven't listened to this much, but I've been really into like the output of the Fubatsushi band members. I believe this is on Sub Pop, so pretty cool for Patrick. Pretty big deal there. I'm not sure if this is part of a larger release, but if you're into Fubatsushi or like ECM jazz, this will definitely tickle your fancy. And moving on to some CD releases. So I had to pick it up. A lot of discourse on this album. This is Beyoncé, Cowboy Carter, and it's really good. It's really good. There's been a lot of talk about the country influence on this album, which is fair. There's definitely a lot of country influence. I mean, evidenced by a cover of Jolene, but a lot of other interesting musical ideas on here. It's not afraid to get a little experimental. Beyonce's voice is tremendous. Great hooks. A lot of cool callbacks to country music. There's like vignettes with Willie Nelson and Dolly Parton. Great stuff, great features. There's a song with Miley Cyrus that the vocal performance is tremendous. Their vocals sound so great together. There's a song Riverdance that I love. Bodyguard. There's so many good songs on this, and I think I'll get into it next. But a double album for me to keep my attention. It's kind of, it's not my favorite. I tend to always think that you can whittle down a double album into a really good, just one album. I find that there's often a lot of fluff on a double album, but not really the case on this one. It's great. But that's a good segue into my next conversation, which is Taylor Swift, the Tortured Poets Department. I'm a fan of Taylor. This one just isn't really doing it for me so far. I think there's some really great highlights on here, and I think there's some songs where the songwriting isn't as strong and the production is kind of minimal as well. So like, if the songwriting is lagging for me a bit and the production isn't that interesting, it kind of just gets lost on me. Yeah, and as for like a double album, I know this only has one of them, I believe. Yeah, but to hold my attention through 2 albums, I need a little bit more. But who knows, like, I wasn't too high on Midnights when it first came out, but like looking back at the highs of Midnights, there's some really good songs on that. So maybe in a couple of years, this one will grow on me. Who knows? But I will say, you know, Taylor is very interesting in the fact that I love how she gets her fan base talking, like decoding these songs and who is this about? What's this line? There's stories about like the bar she mentioned in one of the songs blowing up. A lot of people are starting to frequent that bar. You know, just it's a fun experience, and I think Taylor always brings a fun experience. So yeah, this is Taylor, Tortured Poets Department. Not really hitting for me right now, but to be determined. Maybe that will change. Next we have, this is Julia Holter, and this is Something in the Room She Moves. I've been a fan of Julia for a few years now. This album is kind of art poppy, chamber jazz. It's lush, can be psychedelic, can be meditative. She just makes really interesting music. If you like some spiritual jazz stuff, maybe like a Pharoah Sanders or something like that, I think this will be interesting to you. Julia plays keyboards and synths, and she sings. But yeah, there's a lot of cool instrumentation on this. And Julia's just like a really interesting artist, and she constantly puts out different types of releases. Like her last album, Aviary, was a little bit more experimental and longer. And then Have You in My Wilderness, the one before that, was a little more poppy. So she's definitely like open to trying out new things, which is always cool to see. Then we have Mdou Moctor, and this is Funeral for Justice. This just came out. Still listening to it, getting used to the songs. I loved their last release, but really cool Nigerian guitarist. A lot of like figure, like hammer-ons. I think he plays like finger pick style electric guitar. Gets a lot of comparisons to like Hendrix. I think sometimes rightfully so, other times it might be a little exaggerated, but definitely one of the coolest guitarists in the game. So if you're interested in like guitar work, I would definitely check this out. Then we have one of my favorite albums of 2024 so far. This is Waxahachie, and this is Tiger's Blood. I just saw Waxahachie live last week at Toad's Place in New Haven, Connecticut. Katie put on a phenomenal show, but this record is just really doing it for me. It's inspired by country music. There's a lot of Americana influence. Really good songwriter and interesting voice as well. She has a really cool vocal delivery. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this one. And I think this is gonna for sure make my best of 2024. There's some songs on here, like Right Back to It has one of the coolest choruses I've heard in a while, and it has MJ Lenderman on it. And yeah, I love the way their vocals sound together, and he's on quite a few tracks of this record. Just loving it. She's on quite a run. St. Cloud, her last record, was great as well. Really loving the direction, and yeah, that's Waxahachie. This one is a reissue of Matthew Sage's debut, I believe, A Singular Continent. And I always love, he's in Fubatsushi as well. Love supporting the Fubatsushi folks. This is a very lush, experimental, ambient field recordings. Just very cool. I like to put this on when I'm reading. Just little bits of production that you hear that, you know, every time you listen to it, it's a little bit different. Looks like Matthew played guitars, violin, electronics, field recording. There's other, Chris Jussel from Fubatsushi also added some violin to this, and there's some cello, synths, really cool stuff. So I love the packaging as well. There's some cool artwork. and a nice breakdown of like Matthew's thoughts on the record 10 years after. This is the 10-year anniversary. So yeah, this is a cool one. Not my favorite of his, but a really interesting one regardless. Then I got, this one just came out. Honestly, I haven't listened to it yet, but this is the new Kamasi Washington record. And it is, what's it called? Fearless Movement. Really looking forward to this spiritual jazz fusion. I liked some of his work before this record, so looking forward to checking this out for sure. Then we have Nia Archives, and this is Silence is Loud. This came out this year. Very, very cool pop melodies over like jungle drum and bass instrumentation. Really like her vocals, the sound of her voice, and also the way she constructs her melodies. Yeah, just really, really cool listen. There's some like cool like acoustic guitar sampling. Just really interesting instrumentation and production. So Nia Archives, really digging this one. And then lastly, there was like at my local record store, there was I guess someone must have dropped off a bunch of like used cassettes that were never opened. So I got like 3 here that I was pretty happy with, and they were all like under $10. So it's a pretty cool score, and I like picking up a cassette from time to time. Obviously not the highest fidelity, but I think there's just like a charm to them, and I dig them. So this is Halloween Judas, 80s thrash metal. Wasn't too familiar, but I know they're a prolific, respected band, so wanted to pick that up. I got T-Rex Tanks. I've never heard this album, but I really like The Sliders, one of my favorites of all time. And then, of course, Electric Warrior as well. So looking forward to checking this one out. And then this one, Babes in Toyland, Painkillers. I believe it's an EP. Really digging this. I had heard Babes in Toyland only from that that documentary, 1991, The Year Punk Broke, which it's like a concert movie featuring like Sonic Youth, Nirvana, Dinosaur Jr., and Babes in Toyland have one performance highlighted in the movie. And I always thought it was very cool, but for whatever reason, I just never listened to them. And this is great. I love the lead singer's vocals. She can go from like a really high-pitched, unhinged squeak to like kind of a throaty, deeper tone. Just a very cool vocal delivery. Very heavy. This is like kind of punky Riot Girl. If you like Bikini Kill, Slayer Kinney, you'll probably enjoy this. Yeah, really rocking. So I'm gonna check out more of Babes in Toyland. Kind of freaky album cover. Yeah. But yeah, that was it. That was a lot of records. I spent a lot of money these last few months on music, I guess. But, it's all worth it. Let me know if you've picked up anything cool these last few months, or if you're listening to anything good. What are your favorite records of the year? Have you found an unheard treasure from the past? Like that Mongo record I purchased. That's what I love about music, finding something from the 1960s that you just had no idea existed, and sounds great to this day. It's really a wonderful thing. I think art in general. Like, I love finding an old movie I never heard of, and it just blows your mind. There's those little treasures out there everywhere. So keep hunting for them. I think that's one of the biggest pleasures in my life, is just finding new art, new music, new books. Yeah, it's great. So let me know if you've listened to anything cool. Let me know I hope you're having a great spring. I hope, you're enjoying a lot of time with your family, your friends. You're listening to great music, consuming great art. Yeah, thanks for watching, and have a great day. Thank you.